This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with a Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Dear old work platform, it's not you, it's us. Actually, it is you. Endless onboarding? Constant IT bottlenecks? We've had enough. We need a platform that just gets us. And to be honest, we've met someone new. They're called Monday.com, and it was love at first onboarding. Their beautiful dashboards, their customizable workflows got us floating on a digital cloud 9. So no hard feelings, but we're moving on. Monday.com, the first work platform you'll love to use.
The whole crowd just gasps. And I went to this place of, he's dead, and I have to accept that he's dead.
How hard was that for you to have to be there in the audience when we are looking like we're about to make out with each other?
The director asked me, would you ever date an IndyCar driver, someone in a really risky job? And I was like, absolutely not.
Your work ethic on that show was unbelievable. The only reason we made it as far as we did is because you are so good at your job.
Were you nervous for him to see you kissing or making out or an intimate scene with a partner?
He said, oh, did you have that scene already? And I said, oh yeah, it was a couple days ago. And he's, why didn't you tell me?
Oldish. The art of knowing more and caring less. With your host, Randy Spelling, Brian Austin Green, and Sharna Burgess.
James Hinchcliffe and Becky Dalton, welcome to Oldish.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
I am so excited that you guys are here. First of all, we've known each other for almost 10 years. That is crazy.
Yeah.
For anyone that doesn't know, we all met 2016 on Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. IndyCar driver, amazing actress, both incredibly talented in doing what you do. And I know that everyone wants us to get to Dancing with the Stars, so we will get to that. And it's, I'm sure, going to be juicy. But I would love to start with just you guys first. I think, James, one thing I never really quite grasped about you is what makes one want to risk their life for a living? Just riddle me that.
Yeah. So I don't think that's how it's framed in most drivers' minds. I don't think that's how we look at it. I think it's you're willing to accept a certain amount of risk because the thrill of what we do is just so rewarding. Racing is interesting because obviously, any athlete will say that they're very competitive people, right? I think a lot of people are just born with that competitive gene, and some take that into golf, hockey, basketball, football, whatever. You kind of find your avenue for it. If it's on the sports side, there are other ways to be competitive too. But with racing drivers, I think it's what really attracts us to it is this ability or the challenge of taking this inanimate object, a racing car, and breathing life into it. And it's this sort of symbiotic relationship between man and machine and manipulating it to bring it to the absolute limit, the edge. There's something so satisfying about that feeling when you get it right. And that's just driving around by yourself. Then you throw in the competitive element, and I think that's kind of what makes a racing driver. That feeling is enough that we ignore the fact that, you can kind of sort of die doing it. But other than that, it's really fun.
You almost make it sound poetic until that last part.
I have a way of ruining things.
You almost had me it sounds kind of beautiful, and then you lost me. When is the first time that you felt that thrill of I like this feeling?
That's a good question. I always had a passion for racing. My dad, so I grew up in Toronto, just outside Toronto in Canada. But I didn't have a Canadian dad. My dad was from England. So he didn't like hockey. So all my friends liked hockey. I didn't like hockey. I liked racing because that was my dad's thing. And so literally as far back as I can remember, I was a fan of it. We would watch IndyCar races, Formula One races. We were just huge gearheads. And then I got a go-kart for my 9th birthday. And honestly, the first time I drove it, I felt something for sure. And it was funny. I think I was born competitive because I have an older brother. And so anytime younger brother has an older brother, you're just constantly, And it's not that we were competing with each other as much as I just wanted to be as good as him at everything, right? I was competing with him even if he wasn't competing with me, kind of thing. So I think that's where that came from. And
Did he also race?
No, he never raced,
Okay.
but just in life, just everything.
Got it. Everything
right?
else.
Everything was like a low key competition. So it was never contentious. We never like fought about stuff like that. But my brother was a big martial artist, so he got into karate. Well, I had to start doing karate, and he learned to play the guitar. Well, I had to learn how to play the guitar. It was just kind of that sort of dynamic, and mix that in with that feeling of driving something. What was funny is I was garbage. I was so bad the first time I sat in a go-kart. I sucked. My whole first year, I came last every single race.
That's hard to imagine, right?
I was not like this phenom kid. I had to work really hard at getting good because I was naturally garbage. But I was very competitive and I wanted to get better. So to answer the question is, as soon as I drove something at pace, at speed, in anger, I immediately fell in love with it.
Wow. It's a crazy thing to me because I am not an adrenaline junkie at all. And so to be your wife would just be excruciating for me. Becky, how did you love racing before meeting James? Was this something you were into? You knew about the risks so that you were good with it? Or was this a real adjustment for you?
Actually, it's funny because I also got a go-kart when I was around 9. It was a little Pennzoil yellow thing, and we drove it, like ripped it around the streets, and I really liked it.
Okay, well, there you go.
You did.
Little did you know.
There's no career in this.
To be fair, I thought the same thing for a long time as well. But
Yeah. Well, no, I actually was not. I didn't follow racing. My brother loved cars, but I never really got into it. But funny story, was it 2-3 years before we started dating?
Yeah.
Or reconnected, I did a guest spot on a show called Saving Hope, and my character, her boyfriend, gets in an IndyCar accident and almost loses all his blood, and they think he's going to die, and we're in the hospital room, and he wakes up, and I think it was his second question was, well, when am I going to get in the car again? And the director came in, and we were chatting, and I was like, this seems really, I have to say, just a little unrealistic. His whole family's in the room. He's almost died. He's got, his wife, his kid, and then his girlfriend. And his second question is, when can I get back in the car? That is so rude. Meanwhile, he gets in a huge accident, almost dies. And what was that, your third question?
My third question.
He wrote it down. So it was real. But the director asked me, he said, would you ever date an IndyCar driver or, someone in a really risky job? And I was like, absolutely not. I could never handle that kind of anxiety when this is the outcome.
Challenge
and funny
accepted.
enough, in that episode, the clip they used in the show, James was in that clip in his car, which was really funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
How does that work?
It's crazy.
First of all, that's wild to hear because how art imitates life, right?
Yes.
You end up with this man that has a very similar story to this character you're in the show doing, and you were in the clip. Am I hearing this right?
Yeah. The clip. Well, I was in the race at least. I don't remember if I was in the actual clip.
You were your
but,
gold and black car.
Oh, okay, there you
Yeah.
go. So yeah, like they just took some stock clip of a car crashing at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway.
Your big crash?
No, it wasn't mine.
Oh, okay.
No.
It wasn't mine. But it was a race that I was in, and I like must have passed the crash during the clip, and like that was just the clip they used for that part of the show. So like
So it showed
the
James,
parallels
like, that's
were
me.
so weird.
That is
So
fascinating.
weird.
Yeah.
And you guys actually knew each other from high school, right? And talking about your big crash, wasn't that when you ended up getting back together?
Yeah, that's the whole reason why, because it was news all over Canada because he's the big Canadian driver. And, we loosely kept in touch just on Facebook. Like I'd see, a GoDaddy poster in Toronto with James's face on it. And I'd, write him a message and he'd see
Or
something.
she'd get a movie, or she had her show in Canada there. And,
Yeah.
I was like, hey, congrats on that. And it's like once every 2 years we
Yeah.
Facebook each other.
But then the big accident happened and I reached out and just said, we're all thinking about you. That looked intense. Granted, it was a little bit after.
Bit delayed.
Yeah.
4 months afterwards.
Yeah, he was recovered.
Yeah,
So
I
he
was
kept
back in a car already, but whatever, it's fine. Yeah.
It's like, you okay? I'm fine. I'm driving again. But yeah, and then we just kept talking because we were both single, which helped. And it just continued and continued. And then we were both in LA at the same time. And I went to the Fontana track. We went to Sugarfish. Almost got kicked out for laughing too hard.
That tracks for you too.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it was really, we were pissing people off. But yeah, it was kind of, I went back to my Airbnb and I told my girlfriend, I was like, I'm marrying that guy for sure.
Really?
Yeah.
You said it after that
Yeah,
day?
I knew it for sure. Yeah.
Because you guys were prom dates back in the day, right? Which I think there's a photo of you guys as prom dates.
A little bowl cut.
Unfortunately,
bald
there is.
So cute.
Yeah.
Baby James and baby Becky. So stinking cute. And so all those years later, you have this first date again. And that's it. You just knew.
Yeah. Just knew. I moved in 8 months later.
6 months later.
Yeah. Yeah. All the way
Did
to
you
Indy.
at any point when you were at the track watching him race be like, I've made a grave error. I'm not going to live
That's a good way of putting it. That's a good question.
like
That is a good
It's not
question.
like, was it nerve-wracking watching him race, or were you ever get nervous? Because like the answer is yes, and that's why, Pinot Grigio stocks rose to the roof for that like 5 years.
Right.
Until I retired.
That's true.
But that's a good question. Did you ever like regret it or think, maybe I'm not cut out for this?
No, by the time it really set in what was going on and the dangers set in, I didn't notice the dangers right away. If anything, I think I was competitive right away, and I really enjoyed the competition and really rooting for James. I don't know actually when it got scary. It must have been, one of the first times you crashed or something, which happens like a lot with these drivers. It's just a thing that happens. They hit the wall at 200 miles an hour. It's like, oh, they're fine. They're walking away.
Yeah.
But by the time I realized this is a lot, and I don't really realize what it's doing to me, I was already in it. There was no shoot.
Can't go back now.
Yeah.
Did you ever have moments where you just wanted to beg him to stop because it was too much?
Yeah, there was one specific time. It was qualifying, and I forget what year. All the years blend together. But he was going out, and my brother was with me, and qualifying at the 500 is terrifying because this is the fastest they go. There's 100,000 people there. It's just the energy is really, really intense, and I find it very overwhelming. And you're standing behind the car, and the car goes out onto track, and you're just kind of left there in the dust. And I remember he pulled out, and I turned to my brother. I didn't want to say it out loud, but I was really freaking out. And I just said, I have a really bad feeling. And my brother just said, it's okay. It's all right. You're just nervous. Let's walk to the other end and meet him, because you walk to the other end, and then they pull in at the other end. So we're walking. We're about halfway to the other end, and the whole crowd just gasps, like 100,000 people. And I just knew. And I looked down because I was like, I don't want to look at the screen. I don't want to see what's happening. And my brother was looking at the screen, and his face looked nervous. And he's like, it's okay. And I was like, what's happening? What's happening? And the whole thing, a golf cart came up. I sat in the golf cart. I had Graham's wife, Courtney, holding my hand. It all took too long. He was in the car. There wasn't a resolution quick enough. And I went to this place of he's dead, and I have to accept that he's dead. It just, I felt him gone. And when you go to that place, it really does something to you. And, we went to the medical. He was totally fine. He ended up going back out that day, which didn't help my nerves. But I went back to the bus, and I had a moment to myself. And that was the first time I was so scared, and I realized what was at stake, and I felt him gone. And I don't know, the whole thing was really, really dark.
Yeah,
And
I can feel it as you talk about it. Like it's still an emotional point for you. It's still very raw.
And even going to the track now, the energy that hits me when I'm there, it's very intense. We talk about this. I get very jittery. But I think, I don't know if I even talked to you about
you never asked me to stop. I know that.
No, never would I do that. And if he wanted to get in the car again, I wouldn't say anything. You know how I feel, but I'm not stopping anything. You drive still and whatnot. But yeah, every race then after that, especially ovals, it was just, I really had to psych myself up for it, I guess. And wine.
and Pinot Grigio.
And Pinot Grigio.
That's really, it's massive, I think, to have those feelings in your relationship, and yet knowing this is his love. It's so much a part of who he is. Identity is a big conversation.
Yeah.
And it's a big part of his. So was it hard for you to not ask him, or did you just accept the fact that he may one day get in this car and he doesn't come back?
I accepted it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I'd watched his best friend. He was paralyzed in a crash, and that was really traumatic. And it's just this, and he's back in a car. It's just what these guys do. And it was before, acting's obviously very different, but it's very hard. There are things that he has to deal with my job. And we walked into it together, and the reason we worked so well and the reason our relationship worked so well was because we understood little things, and it's like, this is who we are, and we either come together who we are, or there's nothing. And
yeah, I think what was so good about us and kind of why it works is we both have very atypical jobs, right? And there are a lot of things demanded of us that are not normal. There's a lot of things demanded of us that are not in our own control. You have to do crazy things to pursue that craft. And so we both understand, they're very different industries, right? The mindset's pretty similar. And I think that really helped. I mean, if I was to try to be with somebody that had like a 9-to-5 job at a law firm,
good luck.
There's just no way. No. We would not understand each other's motivations. We wouldn't understand, the sacrifices that they're different for, it's such a different world. And luckily acting was close enough. Again, so different, but what you have to do and what you have to sacrifice and be willing to do, I think is so similar that it kind of made it work. And like, I would never ask her to stop acting. And she would never ask me to stop racing. It's not even a conversation, because we both know when you're passionate about something to that degree, and it's such a hard thing to get into, and we've both been so lucky in our lives to get to do those things. Like, you would never ask somebody to walk away from that.
Right, true. So in understanding, you were talking about identity and how much, you guys are both ambitious and chased your careers and done so well at it. James, you went through a massive transition in your career. This thing that she would never ask you to leave, you ended up, to a degree, you're still in it, right? Yeah. But it's not the same thrill seeking that you were getting every weekend. I think it was it 2019? I remember this because I had just gone through what was sort of similar in my not being brought back on Dancing with the Stars.
Right.
And it was devastating for my identity. Who am I without this? They don't want me. What's wrong with me? Where am I going to go from here? What was that like for you? I know we talked, but what was that journey like for you?
Yeah, so it was an interesting sort of 3-year stretch. So it was 2019. I was in the middle of a contract and I was released. And it was very tough because I understand a lot of drivers are, they're sensitive, right? They've got big egos and they're insecure in a lot of ways. Even though you have to be overly confident in certain ways, you're still always going to be a little bit susceptible to those types of feelings. And ultimately, motorsports is a performance-based business, right? If you're not performing, you should not expect to keep your job. And when I got let go in the middle of a contract, I had not had a teammate that had outperformed me in 5 years, right? There was, Robbie's kind of the exception, but like at best 4 out of 5 years, I was a top performer on the team. There was somebody at one of the companies that sponsored it that had a personal vendetta against me, and unfortunately, he had enough power to get rid of me. So that was really tough, because if I was just underperforming and they're like, "Hey, man, you're not doing the job," I'd be like, "Yep, you're right," and I either have to figure out how to be better and go get another ride and figure that out, or accept that I no longer have it, or whatever it is. But that wasn't the case, and I was so mad at that situation. It just seemed so unfair.
Yeah.
First world problem, I get that, but like in that world, when that's all you know, it's a very unfair situation. When it happened and how it happened meant that for 2020, I had only kind of a partial year in the car, and so I kind of piggybacked my half season driving with the rest of the races. I got asked to do some work on the television broadcast. And that was an interesting sort of thing to happen, because it gave me a little bit of insight into what that world's like. And it had always kind of been in the back of my head that was something I wanted to look into once I was ready to step down from driving. Like, I remember back in 2018, somebody from the network at the time that was broadcasting IndyCar called me to coffee one day, and he was like, "Hey man, just want to know where you're at in your career, because if you're thinking of stopping, it'd be a good time for us. We'd love to talk about bringing you on the broadcast." I was like, flattered, thank you. I'm not there yet. And, we kind of, agreed to stay in touch, sort of thing. So then in 21, I got back into the car full time, and 21 was a tough year for a lot of different reasons. My dad passed away at the start of the year. I had an injury in the off season in the winter that year that I was it was still lingering. I was still sort of recovering from, and our year on track was just not very good. And it was sort of a confluence of all these things at one time that really got me thinking about, okay, when's the right time to hang it up? Because I always promised myself, I used to watch guys growing up that would, in my opinion, they hung on way too long. And it's a tough look. It's guys that had great careers and great legacies, and you sort of watch them piss it away a little bit because they didn't know when to hang it up. And I always promised myself I wouldn't be that guy. Not that I had some like legendary Hall of Fame career, but like I'm proud of what I did behind the wheel of a race car, and I didn't want my last 2, 3, 4 years to just be making up the numbers, riding around the back, collecting a check. Like there's no interest in that for me. Taking that kind of risk, putting that stress on her and on my family just because I don't know what else to do seemed like a really selfish thing to do. And so I got to this point where the risk reward equation no longer balanced out. It was no longer a net positive. It was a break even or maybe a net zero, or like a negative, right? And as soon as you start realizing that, you want to get out of the car. Because if you're driving with any hesitation, any reservation, anything like that, it's actually more dangerous, to be honest. And so between all these different things, personal life, professionally, like it just sort of seemed like a good time to explore what was next. And then I got in touch with NBC, who was a broadcast partner at the time, and they're like, yeah, man, and threw down a 3-year contract. And they said, if you want to do this, it's yours. And so that's what kind of prompted the swap. And then you're like, okay, cool. That helps that decision, right? When you're like stepping away from the only thing you know, like, hey, you can just like stroll cleanly into this other opportunity. But then you've got to face the reality that, yeah, okay, now I've left the only thing I've ever known for my entire life and have to start this new journey from scratch, having no idea how you're going to feel about it, how it's going to challenge you, how it's going to reward you, and are you going to regret it when you get to that first race of a 3-year deal and you're going to sit there thinking, I'm in the wrong spot, I shouldn't be doing this.
I think you'd have to wonder if it's also going to fulfill you, being someone that has that adrenaline every weekend in what you do and that thrill seeker that you are. You don't get that sitting at a microphone. Have you had a hard time filling that space?
I've always said that there are a lot of things that I miss about racing full time, but there's a lot that I don't. And I got to that first race, and first practice was tough. Like watching the car, like the first race of the season is always at St. Pete. It's a track that I love. It's an event that I love. The first weekend of the year is always so much fun because it's like the first day of school and you're seeing everybody. You're back in the car. You're back in competition. So that first practice session on Friday was like really tough to watch. But by qualifying on Saturday, I was like, no, I'm doing the right thing. And I'm so lucky it happened that quickly that I felt comfortable in the decision that I'd made. Obviously, broadcasting doesn't reward you necessarily in the same way. The stakes aren't as high. But at the same time, a live broadcast, as you know, there's a lot on the line.
Yeah.
And so there is an adrenaline rush
absolutely.
to doing a live show.
Yeah.
And so, that you hear that countdown from the producer, 3, 2, 1, all right, let's go. And for 2 hours, you can't screw up. There's no retakes. There's no do-overs. And there's something about nailing a really good show with this awesome team of people, and everyone's got to play their part for it all to go off well. And the parallels between that and racing are plentiful. And so I really did start getting kind of fulfilled by that.
Yeah, I've been in the room when they do the broadcast for the 500 too, and I sit behind them and I watch. It was Townsend Lee and James. And I mean, they're standing up, they're so pumped up, and they're touching each other, they're talking to each other. It's just, there's so much energy and they're having so much fun. And I can see it in you. He's just thriving in there.
Well, and you know what it's like, right? Like we were on the show for that like 3-month period, you get so absorbed by that world, nothing else is happening. Like nothing else matters. Like you think that what you're doing is the most important thing that's happening on earth for that time.
But to you, it 100% it is everything.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an unbelievable thing for me once I got out of it to look back on it and be like, oh my God, like the world was still turning outside of the studio.
A lot of shit was going down in the world.
I was completely oblivious to it. It did not matter to me. All that mattered with that.
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing, right? Like once we get into a race weekend, you're just so absorbed by what's happening. And that's a fun feeling. That's what I'm used to, right? Like when I'd go there as a driver, your whole weekend is just, all right, this is the week. All I worry about is this. Now I get to do that on weekends, but at least like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, I'm free to have a life and to think about other things. You know, like even when you're not on a race weekend as a driver, every waking minute is how can I be a better driver? That's all you think about. And I've said this to you 100 times, like the day I decided to stop, let's say I made the decision to stop, the next morning I sat up in bed and I felt lighter, like physically felt lighter. I'm like, is this what it feels like to wake up for like
and not risk your life for a living? Yes, James. Yes, that's exactly what it's like. Without fear of death. Yes,
kind of neat. Yeah, I guess maybe that's a bit of it in the back. I don't know. I never thought about that part, but it's just the, like not this constant pressure you put on yourself to be better at whatever it is you're doing, right? So I still try to improve and be better at broadcast. Every time I do a broadcast, I watch it back and like take notes. Like you bring the same kind of energy and philosophy that you brought to being an athlete to doing this. It's just how I know how to work. So yeah, it's fulfilling in certain ways for sure. And I've really, really enjoyed doing it.
Dear old work platform, it's not you, it's us. Actually, it is you. Endless onboarding? Constant IT bottlenecks? We've had enough. We need a platform that just gets us. And to be honest, we've met someone new. They're called Mondaycom, and it was love at first onboarding. Their beautiful dashboards, their customizable workflows got us floating on a digital cloud 9. So no hard feelings, but we're moving on. Monday.com, the first work platform you'll love to use.
Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
Becky, do you feel like, because James, you say you woke up that day and you felt completely different and you were free of that burden. Do you feel like you got a different James at that point? Did things flourish even in your relationship after that? Do you feel like it got easier for the two of you?
Yeah, I would say so for sure. I mean, I think there was a weight off both of us. The pressure for me to be at all the races was off too. And because I wasn't scared anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was lighter, and he always has been, and I don't know if it was because of his accident and that he was basically dead once and came back, but he's always had a very, I don't know, the way that he lives his life is carefree in a way. You know, on the racetrack when things would happen, he'd get really frustrated, he'd go into engineering and he would come back and he would let it go. And I would see that. And he was very good about that. A lot of drivers aren't. I think that he really knew how to compartmentalize. And he was very present a lot at home. But yeah, there was just time that wasn't there before. He's still working hard all the time, but I don't know, it's different.
It is different.
Yeah.
And like I can do stuff, like I could support her a lot better. Like you'd be working and if it was in the summer, it'd be like, okay, bye for a month, have fun on set. Call me on the weekend. Oh no, wait, I'm racing on the weekend. I guess we'll text for the next month.
Yeah.
To where I could finish a race weekend and on Monday I could fly to wherever she was and spend Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday on set with her. Like I think I went to like the next 4 movies that you were on. I had never been to one for more than like 20 minutes before.
Wow.
So
that's amazing.
Yeah, it's nice.
I loved feeling like I could be a more supportive partner because she supported me so much in my career. But with acting, you're on while the job is happening, and then you're kind of off until the next job. Where like with my job, I woke up on, always thinking about what was next, and so it was always just, I don't want to say a cloud over my head. Like obviously it was a privilege to get to do it, and I loved it, and I would never change anything. But I love that I had that freedom now to kind of be better for you.
Yeah.
It's amazing because you're both so ambitious people, but what I hear is that neither of you have an ego about it in your success. Like you would sacrifice to be there at his races, and now you're actually so excited to be able to be there and on set with Becky with her doing her thing. There's no, from what it sounds like, resentment towards, I wish I was actually doing this instead.
You hear these stories about powerful women struggling to find a partner. because of this, prehistoric belief, or, some of it's genetic programming too. I get that. But it's like, oh man, if she gets the next Hunger Games franchise, I'm like, yeah, I'll stand behind her in the red carpet holding her purse. That's awesome for her. That's all.
Stay home, take care of the doggies.
Yeah, I'll be the dog dad. I don't get it. Whatever, man. I've never really understood anybody being threatened by their partner's success in either direction, right? And for
There's
two
none
people,
of that.
that have jobs where you often come across people with big egos, we don't have that to each other at all.
No.
That's really incredible.
We've been beaten down. We're good. No ego here.
Beaten down? I think it has to do with being Canadian and chill. You're like Aussies. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I found the same in Brian. It's really incredible. The same dynamic of he wants me to fly as high as I can.
For sure.
You know, and even though with who he is, he's like, no, you should do that on your own.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, I'll be here holding your purse.
Yeah,
when you get off the carpet.
Yeah.
It's really beautiful. I want to take you back to 21 because you mentioned and your dad passed, and you did mention he's what got you into racing.
Mm-hmm.
And not long after that, you really made that switch and that decision to move on. Do you feel like a part of that decision was because you no longer had him there to share it with you? Did you lose something when he passed, other than, of course, losing your father?
It's a very interesting question.
It is, and it's something that I've thought of in a sense, because what did not happen, and what I would never want anyone to think, was that once Dad was gone, I did one more year and then stopped. Oh, he was only doing it for his dad, right? There are drivers out there that only race. There are athletes out there that only compete because of parental pressure. Right, I saw it in go-karting as a kid. You see it in hockey all the time back home. You see it in other sports. It's the dad's dream. It's not the kid's dream, but they just do it, right? Mm-hmm. So there was this weird coincidence that my dad passes away, and all of a sudden James is like, I don't know how much I like racing anymore. I want to make sure that it is very clear. I did not drive for my dad, right? He could not have been a more supportive kind of I don't want to say hands off. That's the wrong term, but he wasn't. You call them hockey dads or racing dads. He wasn't one of those guys. He was, so I could have stopped at any time and he wouldn't have cared, right? At the same time, he loved it and he was my biggest supporter and everything. And I love that we got to share that passion for motorsports. So it wasn't that at all. And I like to think, and I've thought about this a lot, I don't think had he still been alive by the end of 21, my thought process would have been any different. And
he would have been so proud of you for falling into
and that's just it. What I'm actually more sad about when I think about it is that I haven't been able to now share this next phase of my career with him, because I think he would have loved that just as much. Yeah. I think he would have been stoked to see that, I was on the broadcast and now I'm working on IndyCar and Formula One and doing all this stuff. He would have loved that. And it's cool to get to to have been able to get to share some of that stuff with him. So I don't think that losing him affected my decision too much. I don't think it took away any of my passion for the sport or love of driving or anything like that. I think it was a weird coincidence and, like I said, a confluence of a bunch of things.
Mm-hmm. Your dad was incredibly charismatic. I think everyone knew from when you were on Dancing with the Stars and I met you, Dina Katz, you should be in television. Everyone's like, this guy. I believe she discovered you because you were doing Family Feud or something like that. She's like, this guy needs to be on Dancing with the Stars.
Gosh,
and from there, so many people fell in love. And I do believe that's something you inherited from your dad. His English humor and just the charisma and the energy about him was always so wonderful. So even though he may not physically be here with you, and seeing you do it, I think it's something that you got from him and you still share it with him.
For sure. And I feel him, we feel him sometimes. We'll be even just walking the dogs and we'll both just kind of have this moment where it's like, he was here somewhere. He was larger than life in life, and I still think he's larger than afterlife. He seeps over into our side every once in a while.
It's wild, right? I mean, I lost my dad in was it 22 or was it 21? No, 21.
Is it?
It's the same.
No.
Wait.
I think it was later.
It was 22. It was the start of 22.
Yeah.
It was about a year later. And our relationship was complicated, but in his passing, I feel him all the time. I talk to him all the time, and I like laugh with him all the time too. Like things come up, and it's really beautiful how they can visit us. It's really amazing. So we've talked so much about James's career and his choices and how he got into it. Yeah. What about you? Why acting? Is there any actors in your family? Did you know you were a storyteller?
There's no actors in my family.
Some characters.
Definitely characters.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely some comedians for sure. But I don't, ever since I was, I could walk, it was just, how can I entertain people? But mostly, how can I make people laugh? That was kind of always my thing. I did a Steve Urkel impression, which was kind of my thing.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
Love that for you.
Yeah. And I hiked my pants all the way up. And then I played the trombone just because it was funny. And I was like, I know I could make this ridiculous. It was good physical comedy. And it was just always performing for my family. And I think that's kind of how the story always goes. There was always drama camps. I was in all the school plays. I just loved it from the get-go. And then we actually met in our extracurricular acting class.
True.
Outside of high school. That's where we didn't meet. I mean, we knew each other, but that's where we became friends. And that's where I got my first agent. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. Yeah, I went to university in Toronto because my parents said, you can't go into acting. You have to have something else, but you can do acting outside of school. So I went to university for, I don't know, sociology or something. And
Sociology.
Wow,
or
because my next
something.
question was going to be, do you think that's great advice to give people? Like, turns out,
no,
yes.
honestly, it was, yeah.
Stay in school, kids.
Stay in school.
It's, I was not interested in it whatsoever. And
Yeah.
then I was taking classes outside, and that was what meant a lot to me. And that's where I focused my time. And then I booked a sitcom. It was the first sitcom in Canada in 30 years. Like live television.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then I couldn't finish school, but then everything just snowballed from there. And I was just able to stay in it and be a working actor, and very lucky that way. And it's just the high I get from it is, I know that we were talking, you've experienced it too. And it doesn't really matter what the project is when you are collaborating with people that way. And, it's a short time. A lot of the time it's just 3 weeks. And in that time, you become so close and you're creating something. I mean, it's a lot like what you two did on Dancing with the Stars. It's so incredible. There's nothing like it. And even when when I first moved to Indy, I was like, I'm going to take a step back. And I think I didn't work for about 2 years. And I wasn't myself, and I wasn't okay. And I didn't know it was the lack of acting that was causing it. But my first job back, I was like, oh,
You missed it.
I found myself again.
She thought it was just Indiana.
And I did.
It's more than that. Yeah.
It brought me back to life, and I've been going since then. And it's just, I couldn't live without it. So
it's a part of you, again, identity. It's something you love so much, but what's something that's really hard about it that you have to push through to stay in it?
I want to say the rejection. I'm very good at it. I brush it off, but I think it's been a tough year for actors in general. And I know that we're all in a headspace of, is it me? Is there something wrong with me? What can I do? And it's hard to not spiral. I think this is the first time in my life that I've been able to sit with myself and not spiral. And it's taken a lot for me. I'm 36, and it's taken me this long to be able to lean into it and not lose my mind. But those are the hard times where it's, I haven't worked in a really long time, and how do I find purpose in my life, and what do I do to better myself and get the next job? And, I think that is definitely the most challenging.
So what are some of the things, because I think we all, whether acting or not, go through these periods of like, oh, I'm not getting it, whether it's unemployment or something else that we're chasing, right? And you do have to figure out how to stay balanced, stay on track, or work on it. What are some of the tools that you use to do that, to stay positive and moving forward?
The biggest thing for me is that I have a husband, I have dogs, I have a family, I have other things. Acting isn't all that I am. And I have to look at my life and all that I've created, all that's come into my life, all that I have. And that doesn't happen when, you you're not ambitious, you don't try, you don't get up every morning and work on yourself. These things come because you've made that life for yourself. So I have to remember that I am doing okay. Everything is okay. Keep going. And in the moments when I'm not working, work at the craft as much as I can, but then also spend time with my family. Take that time that I don't normally have to do the things that I wish I could do. Go back to Canada a little bit more, see those friends, that family, do that kind of stuff. And it's just, sitting with it, journaling, just keeping myself sane and remembering it's okay. Like, work isn't everything. And I think that's the biggest takeaway for me.
Yeah, I totally get that. I think that's so relatable for so many people because, again, acting or not, I think right now especially so many people are discovering unemployment and trying to find the next thing. So it's beautiful advice. You have to, as an actress, have romantic scenes with people.
Yes.
How was that the first time it came up within your relationship with James? Were you nervous for him to see you kissing or making out or an intimate scene with a partner, or were you like, nah, bro, this is it. Like, just get on board?
That's actually I remember the first one, actually.
I blacked it out. I don't know.
It was when we first, I don't even think we were official yet. We hadn't made the like boyfriend-girlfriend thing.
We weren't Facebook fish.
Yeah, we were Facebook fish. And I told him I do have a kissing scene before the project even started. And then the scene came and went. And I think it was a couple days later we were talking and he said, oh, did you have that scene already? And I said, oh yeah, it was a couple days ago. And he's, why didn't you tell me? And I was like, well, I thought about it, but I thought it would be weird to be like, hey, by the way, while you're at track, really stressed out, driving your car, just know I'm kissing someone else.
I'm doing a full makeout scene, okay?
Yeah. So I did it. But then I learned he would like to be in the know of just, roughly when is it happening? I think that was just open communication.
Yeah, it wasn't like text me as you're going on set.
No, it was, a little heads
about a minute and a
up.
half.
I'm going to need you to FaceTime me so I can watch the whole thing. Yeah.
And for me, it's nothing, right? And
of course, it's a job.
It's just, and there have been times where I think I've forgotten just because I don't think about it. But I mean, most of the time he meets my co-stars and they have a crush on him. And it's all just like, is your husband coming back to set or when? So he doesn't have to worry there. Yeah. Exactly.
I so understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Has there ever been a script you've read where you've gone, I can't do that? Where it's either is it nudity or too intimate or too something and you're like, I just have to turn this down. I'm not even going to go for it.
Not that I would turn it down, but there definitely was a part I got pretty far in the auditioning process, like a director producer session. I think I had 2, and it was I'll just say it was for Sex Life. So
great show.
Yes, a great show.
Was it for the lead of it?
No, this was for season 2.
I was about to say, that's saucy, that one.
It was saucy.
I don't know if you'd want to know about that, James. That was very spicy.
It was the first time where, I read the episode and then they also had just warnings all over the, casting page. And I sat down with James and it was like, I mean, this is the real deal
Pretty
here.
full on,
Very full on. And it was more like, if I book it, let's
deal with it then.
I'd be doing it, but we deal with it. And it was more, am I comfortable doing it? Mm-hmm. And I am, because as you know, it's not like that.
No, it's not like that.
Yeah, it's kind of the worst sometimes. But he was comfortable and he said, if you are comfortable, then by all means. And I didn't end up getting it, so we didn't have to go there. I have had a role where I went further than a Hallmark movie, and it was a lot.
I went further than a Hallmark movie. We got to second base.
Yeah. And that was a whole experience in itself. But yeah, we got through it. It's just... It's work. He risks his life and I do this.
Yeah.
It's kind of a trade-off.
How do you deal with it, James?
Very, very pragmatically. I signed up for this.
Yeah.
Right? Like when I made the decision, like whenever this all happened, it's like, this is who she is. This is what she does. Mm-hmm. That is part of the job.
Yeah.
In the same way that she had to be like, oh yeah, he straps into a ground-based jet and races around concrete walls.
By the way, I remember being in it. That's crazy.
Oh yeah, you've been in it. That's right.
So yeah, for me, it was always just like, yeah, no, that's the deal. And I've learned a lot about how these things shoot and what it's really like, and it's not, that has, I don't know. It never really bothered me.
Was it an adjustment though? Like, okay, it never bothered, but you were like, oh yeah, my girlfriend makes out with other people.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help that your friends give you a hard time sometimes.
Well, that doesn't help.
That
I'm
is
sure.
a popular question for people to ask me. Yeah. Like,
my family might pause the TV at kissing moments
your dad
and
loves
leave
doing
it
that.
on the screen. My cousins do that, yeah. My dad might have
your
said
dad
to
does
you.
it
Does that make it
sometimes,
harder or
but-
easier though? Because I know you love to joke.
Yeah,
right?
like you can't make fun of me better than I can make fun of me.
Totally.
So like, bring it on.
Totally.
It doesn't. You're not going to win that battle.
Yeah, he's a good sport.
No, it's fine. Honestly, it's not. It really. It's just part of it. And like, it's sometimes when you're watching the movie, you're like, all right, this is lingering a bit. Come on, director, say cut at some point.
Yeah.
But it's not her. Like I'm not worried about that necessarily.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's just one of the things that you deal with. And
Speaking of the things that you deal with and, things in relation.
Impact confirmed. The Slayer has been activated.
Demonic threat level increasing.
Hold the line!
All the power of hell cowering before one man.
id Software presents Doom, The Dark Ages. Available now on Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and PC.
Rated M for mature.
We off? 30 seconds of carefree bliss.
Oof, like wind in your hair carefree.
Oh, like using Clorox Disinfecting All-Purpose Cleaner in the home carefree.
Yes.
Like dog slobbing on the coffee table and cleaning it with Clorox Carefree.
He's on a roll now.
Spit toothpaste on the faucet.
You got it. You got it.
Peanut butter on the light switch.
Oh, spritz, spritz.
Spritz, spritz. Clorox, man. Clean feels good.
Okay, we're back. Use as directed.
Relationships, I remember you guys had only really been together for about 3 months or so when you joined Dancing with the Stars. Yeah. And we will totally get into all the fun stuff of Dancing with the Stars, but while we're on relationship stuff, that must have been so hard for you, Becky, because you guys had amazing chemistry and still have, and whatever, you're at the beginning stages of it. It's supposed to be so much fun and electric. And yet here we are on TV, and I'm a master at creating chemistry and routine with people, but we also had a genuine, I think you're my brother from another mother chemistry.
Yeah.
But the way that manifested in life was fans relentlessly shipping us together.
Oh, yeah.
And they also, I think, came for you sometimes and would say that you should leave James so we can be together. And I think it's such a brutal side of social media. And there's so many wives and girlfriends of people that do Dancing with the Stars, but we never hear their side of it. How hard was that for you to have to be there in the audience and be like, that's such a great rumba when we are looking like we're about to make out with each other?
It was very difficult, honestly.
And you barely knew me. We'd see each other once or twice a week.
That's the other thing.
We're spending 8 to 10 plus hours a day with each other.
Yeah. And you guys, you had so much work you guys were working around the clock. And there wasn't a lot of time. I can probably count on my hands how many times we were able to sit down and have dinner. Yeah. Because there just wasn't a lot of...
Dinner wasn't an option most nights. It was just too busy.
Right? Yeah. And I wasn't in a great place either. I had my last serious relationship was not a good one. And I never really had a lot of trust in my relationships. And James and I hadn't had the chance to build it yet. We were still so new. I had actually just moved to Indianapolis. And the next day we went to LA.
Wow.
And I moved in after 6 months. So this isn't a long time that we had been together. And I needed time to get to know him, to know that I could trust him. I didn't know that he was the person he is today yet. So I was nervous from the jump when they asked him to do it. And I thought, oh gosh, what if you fall in love with your dance partner? You're all beautiful women. And you're working and the thing is as an actor, I know what it's like to build chemistry with someone, and I know what it's like to fool yourself into thinking the chemistry is actually there. That's how these things happen on set, right? And I've had practice with that and I know what that is, but James is brand new to this whole experience. And I said, I'm really worried you are going to think that you have fallen and then, as a result, fall. And then I'm out of the picture. So I was just constantly worried about that. And that was on me. That was my own thing. But, but then it's exasperated by the fans that were, I was getting tons of followers, but they were all just there to troll me. And because you guys did have incredible chemistry. It was so beautiful what you two created. And I could not deny that. I mean, what was going on in the dance floor was unbelievable. And in the chemistry, there was genuine love there. And, looking back, I can see that it's brother, sister. It's this beautiful friendship. And I never wanted to stand in the way of it then. And I never said anything. I think there was one time when I said something. I don't know when it was.
Yeah. I can't imagine how you didn't.
Yeah,
out of the whole 10
there
weeks,
were a couple
at least
of,
say something.
Conversations about it. But it was all the DMs. It was, comments on my posts saying, Sharna is so much more beautiful than you. Why is he with you? And
you're fooling yourself if you don't think something's happening.
Oh, tons of that. Like they're
too.
obviously in love. And, I knew he was coming home to me every night, but I
sometimes at midnight.
Yeah.
No, there was,
Let's be real.
even 2
That's gotta
a.m.
be hard.
sometimes. Yeah. And but I got it because I have to do the same thing for my job. So I know that this is what you have to do. And I just had to work through it myself, but I actually didn't really have the tools to do that. So I really struggled through it internally. And I remember the last day of it all, when you guys got on that plane to New York, I went back to our hotel to pack up and I just cried for, I think, 2 hours straight. it all just came out because it was so scary and it was over. And I don't know, it was really hard. And then we had but James is just so matter of fact. He's just like, no, there's nothing going on. And for him, it was just, that's all there is. And I'm like, do you see how I'm dying here? But I was really insecure and I just couldn't. There were just times where I'm like, why wouldn't you be with Sharna? She's beautiful, confident. She's so good at what she does.
All the fans say it.
All the fans say it. And what you had was amazing. So then I went into this thing of like, why would you be with me when you could be with her? So I spiraled myself on that. But
And I'll say that like I was not super equipped to know how to. We were talking about this earlier, right? Like I was just so like pragmatic. Pragmatic. No.
He was in competitive mode, and he's like, "How do we win?"
Yes.
I was. It's
like,
100%.
It's not real.
I was so focused on trying to win that it was everything else was like. It's not that it wasn't important, but I was like, well, no, that's not happening. So can I get back to work now? Like, why are we still talking about this?
And I think I needed that.
It was not great.
Okay.
I think I needed that. Just I didn't need to be coddled, and I needed someone to just be like, "This is the facts. Stop. Like, it's not real." And don't let this world, because there were comments on my Instagram. Do you know how many times I wanted to write back? I didn't write back one time.
Oh, I'm proud of you.
Yeah, not one time.
Did you write and then delete? Because I do that all the time.
Oh yeah. There were times where I'm like, can I
did
say
that the
this?
other
And Jim's
day.
like,
Yeah.
no. Yeah. It's hard. It's so hard.
Yeah.
And it really tested me. And I think I grew from the experience in a huge way. And while it was very trying for us that early in the relationship, I think it did us a lot of favors.
For sure.
I think it really catapulted us into success, because if we can get through that, and if I can overcome that, I think we're good, and we definitely made it out okay. And then you and I became very close.
Yeah.
And
well done, you two. Well done.
Yeah. But you and I didn't get to be that close during.
Yeah.
And that would have been amazing.
It would have been amazing. I was also in competitive mode.
You were.
And so
there was no time.
But I was, I would say present-ish to it. I was so tunnel vision because James was so good. And we did laugh constantly. So it was like so easy. We should have won. It was so easy to just do 12 hours of straight dance with this man a day and create on the spot and do the things. And that for me was also like a drug, because you also have partners where you're like, and left then right. No, left, then right. You know what I mean?
I feel like that's me when we did our dance for our wedding. It was like 2 hours in and you were like, can you do this move? I'm like, I've never heard that word in my life.
But you were amazing. Stop it right now.
She learned so quickly.
So fast.
I had to take breaks.
We will be showing the footage on absolutely of that dance because it was so beautiful.
So impressive.
And thank you so much for having me create. That was very special.
Thank you for doing it. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And I love that I got to know you afterwards.
Yes.
And I know in the season, like we tried, you'd come and hang out at my house and we'd watch the show back. Did we watch Strictly Ballroom together? We did.
Yeah.
We get
Where's your floor
massages. Where's your floor craft?
And the Wizard of Oz one? What was that? The
Wiz.
Oh,
the Wiz. Yeah, I remember watched that one.
And there was all those things, but it's so hard to truly get to know because you get into competitive mode.
And you worked insane hours because we would we would rehearse for 8 to 12 hours a day. Then you would go home and you would have to work on set design and you would have to work on costume stuff and you would have to have all these meetings above and beyond what I was doing. Yeah. And I was doing wardrobe fitting and master interviews and all that stuff, which you were also doing, but then you were also meeting with the set designers and meeting with the costume. Like you would get 3 hours of sleep sometimes.
Yeah, totally.
Because you would just go home and you would just your work ethic on that show was unbelievable.
Thank you.
The only reason we made it as far as we did is because you are so good at your job.
Yeah.
It is not about my ability to dance. It was about your ability to teach and create and work around whatever I gave you to work
Such
with.
a good teacher.
Thank you.
Because I think it's changed a bit now, right?
Yeah,
like the
it's
pros
different.
don't have as much creative control.
No.
So in our that era, man,
magic era, a total magic era of Dancing with the Stars. And that's why I say I was in such a competitive mode because that was like crack for me. We had this whole creative team at Dancing with the Stars and I got to just work with them and design all the things that I wanted. Yeah. And then I have this person who sits for a living but can apparently dance. And it was like, let's do that. And I knew that I could, on Thursday, go home with the tape and be like, I hate those whole 24 counts and come in the next day and just change them. Yeah. Because I knew he could handle it. So we had an amazing time. But back to you guys. James, is there anything you would handle differently throughout that experience? Now, hindsight, 2020, would you do anything differently with Becky to put her more at ease?
It's tough, right? Because in those situations, you work with what you know in the moment, right? And the information you have available to you and the experience you have, together in that time. Looking back on it now, understanding what her kind of position was, what her concerns were, where she came from in the sense of she talked about her last relationship was. I know a lot more about her last relationship now than I did then,
right?
And would be more attuned to some of the concerns that could create. So yeah, I would definitely, I think, be more understanding. And as much as you say it was beneficial to have someone that was just like, no, next. I probably would not have taken quite that approach and maybe found a way to compartmentalize the competitive side for at least an hour a night to give her that and have maybe deeper conversations about what was bothering her or whatever. But yeah, it's as you know, in the moment, that's what you're working with, what you know, and there's just a lot I didn't know.
Realized too the chemistry you two had. Like there were times in the dances where I would watch you two at the opening when you're like close.
Oh, the rumba. Like, yeah, I know.
That's real. And I had friends be like, Becky, because I was like, this is good. It's either
do you know how hard I worked on those hands, not looking crazy, going down. He put a lot of work into that looking real.
But you guys were that good, and obviously you came second, and I think you. Close.
We got told there wasn't enough passion in that dance by one of the judges, I'm pretty sure.
No way.
Yeah.
The rumba?
I think so.
Like, what more do you guys want?
Yeah. Oh, wait. I'm just going to bitch about it now. Remember our blindfold tango where we didn't get a perfect score?
Unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. There was something we saw some thing.
Stumble.
What was that?
Did you?
Well, the best was like we go back in the trailer afterwards and we watch and we're like, nah.
There's literally no stumble.
Calling BS on that.
Call it straight BS.
Didn't happen.
Oh, it's such a crazy thing. Being outside of being a competitor on the show now and also being a judge on it, it's so interesting the different perspective that I have. And you really are, you talk about that bubble it's all that matters to you. You are so in it.
Yeah.
And so that one point that you don't get because of the work that you put in, the hours you put in, the sacrifice, and you're like, what do you mean there was a stumble? It was literally perfect, but you don't get the validation from it. So on that side of the table, it's all valid, the way that we feel, the fury that we feel at the things that don't happen. But then on the other side of being a judge, it's also really freaking hard. You're watching this dance. You've got a minute and a half to judge it. You've got 20 seconds to speak about it. And you're looking through your notes to know what you can say that matters that someone else hasn't said, and hope to God that your score actually reflects the dance.
Right.
Because you're seeing it from a side angle, not a front angle.
Yeah.
And it's such a different appreciation and respect that I have for the judges now that I'm one of them.
Do you think that if you were to go back as a pro on the show now, having had the experience as a judge, it would change how you ran your program? Like, have you learned anything or picked up on anything that you think would give you, I don't want to say like give you an edge necessarily, but would alter your approach in any way?
No, because I think the competitive stuff side of me would still kick in. I might.
But there's nothing you now know that can aid the competitive side of you, like use it to your advantage.
Well, are you interviewing me?
Yeah.
Whose podcast is this?
Sorry, I'm just curious.
You know what? Yes, I'm sure there is, but it's all stuff that I knew back then. I honestly think the pro that I was shaped the judge that I am. I am very much Sharna the pro as a judge.
Sure.
So even though I knew all of these things, don't sweat the small stuff, 1 point doesn't matter, the audience vote counts, the package is super important, how you speak to, all those things matter. But when I'm in the moment and I am in my tunnel vision competitiveness, I want it all to be as it should. And when it's not, I just get fired up, and I'm a creative control freak, as you know. And so it's like, well aware. And so things just, you trigger you. That's a really like big word, but I get sensitive to things. I get passionate about things. And I think I'd still be the same kind of pro that I would on the show. I would say, speaking of like me being a pro, it dramatically changed for me after the loss with you. I think it took a long time for me to recover from that, in feeling like, what more can I do?
Yeah.
Like, what more can I do? And I felt deflated from that. I remember, you cried when you were in the hotel for 2 hours. I cried the whole way from LA to New York, drunk, by the way, in the bathroom, just drinking tequila from the bottle on the plane and howling in the bathroom. And it's awful because Laurie Hernandez was on the plane too, and she won, and she shouldn't have had to have heard that. This sweet 16-year-old that just like danced her ass off
She
too.
gets it.
She gets
it.
But that broke me for a while there. And then I had a string of some kind of difficult partners after that.
Yeah.
And it was like, to go from this like version of a soulmate, right? A person that you just get along with in life. Doesn't have to be romantic. It's someone you just go, wow, we were meant to have this moment.
Yeah.
And such an amazing chemistry and connection to like, I'm like trying to gear myself up to go to work and reporting things, or trying to not cry on the way home because this show that I love so much is just now, an uncomfortable space because of the person, whatever, different dynamics. But I'm so grateful I had that season, because that was like the magic of the magic. And I had so many beautiful seasons. Noah Galloway was another one for me, Nick Carter too. But there was just something magical about that season.
Yeah.
And fair, we didn't win. But 9 years later, I'm still obsessed deeply with the both of you, and we're like family, and we have a friendship that's way cooler than a mirror ball, which, by the way, breaks after a while.
Speaking from experience, not actually that well made.
Don't have kids. They will break your mirror ball.
And you still have fans that still talk about it. Today there was a post on Instagram.
Yeah, you
should have won Dancing with the Stars. So, not that Laurie Hernandez did. She did absolutely incredible job.
She was amazing. Her and Val were incredible.
It's just, you took a guy that sits and turned him into this incredible dancer.
Yeah, you fooled everybody into thinking I know how to dance, so people still expect it of me. I'm like, no, that's not how it works.
But you like to dance. You like dancing around the kitchen all the time.
I do.
Yeah,
I do. I miss it. Like, I loved it.
Yeah.
I genuinely, like, I had no experience or really interest in dance before the show. And by the end, I mean, the whole process of not just dancing, but the creating the whole thing and like working through it all I found it so fascinating. I found it so challenging. I found it so rewarding when you did it right. Like, again, it's that high stakes stuff. You have one shot. You can practice all week long, but you hear the countdown track, you hear that tick track, and you have one shot to not screw it up.
Yeah.
And I still lose sleep over like the 3 big mistakes that I made.
What were your 3 big mistakes?
One in the quick step. When we were all in that line and I went the wrong way with my feet. Then there was the one in the whiz one, the jazz number, that one was just
sideways.
Oh God. I'm actually, what helps me sleep on that one is that I'm so happy I recovered and finished.
Yes.
Because I did have a really bad trait in rehearsal of like anytime I got something really wrong, I would just be like, okay, stop, let's go back to the top. And she's like, you don't get to do that on the day. So you have to just keep going. And like if I ever lost track of the count, like I was not great at that. I was not a strength of mine. And so like when I screwed that up, I'm like, oh no, like I'm just gonna stand here for the rest of this dance. We're only halfway through. I found my spot. We worked it out. And then there was, what was the third one? There's another one. Our second foxtrot in like the last week.
Oh yeah.
And on those spins, I tried to get out of it. You did one pivot
instead of 2.
Yeah.
I still remember all these.
You guys remember this.
Yeah.
I think I remember every detail of that experience because it was just so fun, and it was so fun creating it. So it was like, I remember our tango week, which was your most memorable year, was kind of a stressful one to put together for some reason, but it ended up being amazing.
I remember I did that little foot drag thing. You like when like I spun around and you drag your foot on the side of your foot on the floor, and you're like, no, that's like a competition move. Like, don't do that. I was like, oh no, I'm doing that.
Yeah.
And then I did it. One of your friends was like, did he just?
Yeah, and you were like, yep.
Yes. I did.
So crazy the fact that you could dance. And what was fascinating for me is that everyone else either needs to see it or feel it. But you wanted the physics of it. You were like, what percentage of weight is in my pinky toe? Like you just wanted to understand.
I'm a numbers guy.
Yeah, you wanted to understand information that nobody else asks. And I think that's because of your understanding of mechanics of a machine, and the body is that too, right? And it was a really fun way for me to teach and create. Hardest moment on the show, do you remember?
I think getting over that blunder in the jazz dance was tough because it was just such a big one. Because one of the things you taught me, which was nobody knows the steps, right? And so one of the biggest tricks of that show is like, if you get something wrong, just power through it and keep the smile on your face. Don't let them know, unless it's like tripping or like something obvious.
I've watched that show in so many dances, and I've only seen a handful of obvious mistakes. All the little ones.
There's so many things that you're not doing to like what you rehearse, but you just power through it as a couple and it goes, But that one was you couldn't hide that one.
Yeah.
Right? I was like half a beat ahead of everybody and just had to like stop, look over, you guys finished, and we're back,
I don't remember that.
Oh, it was so bad. That was so
It
bad.
wasn't so bad, but it was a rough week because I was injured.
I was just going to say, like losing you was really tough.
Yeah.
Right? Because, that was like week 9, I think.
8, I think, because 9 was tango, 10 was finale. So I think it was week 8.
Yeah. So,
something like that.
That was tough because you're dancing with somebody new. It was a difficult dance that week because, because 8 was, you're right, 8 was the Halloween dance.
Yeah.
And then jazz was the next week. And so like that was a very character-y dance and a very kind of different dance with some weird elements in there that weren't normal, just like dance moves. And it was somebody new, and you now have 3 people in the room during rehearsal and 2. So that was a tough week.
Yeah. You handled it like a champ. To this day, I am still so sad that I didn't get to perform the Halloween dance with you. It's one of my favorite pieces I've created. Yeah. And it was so fun. And I had asked for that song weeks before the season even started. I knew what I wanted. I was so pumped about it. And Jenna did the most amazing job with you. Like, that's also why it's such a massive fan favorite. That dance is huge. But the fact that I didn't get to perform it with you, I was so bummed. Yeah. But it's okay. I oddly woke up the day of the finale and I was like, we aren't winning.
Oh, you knew?
I just knew. Yeah. It was this strange thing. Always on the show, I had a way of knowing if we were going home or what would, like, you just woke up with a feeling.
Yeah.
And I woke up that morning and I was like, nope.
Not it.
It's not it. And I was so bummed. So sad.
Yeah, it was,
It was a thing.
It was a thing.
But we're
Podiums.
friends. We're all friends now, and it's fine.
It worked out.
Yeah,
it worked out.
did.
I'd rather have this than a mirror ball. So.
Absolutely. And then you guys gave me the greatest honor of creating your wedding dance, which is still just such a beautiful thing. And Becky, you were a superstar in it. One day you should do Dancing with the Stars because
100%.
you are amazing.
100%.
I honestly, though, I remember like hours in, like 2, 3 maybe, you would go like 12 hours and you would say a move to me. And I honestly thought I had never heard that word. And you were like, you've been doing that the past 3 hours. You need a break.
Yeah. Take a 5.
It's like, I've never heard that word. James like, we've been doing it. It's this one. I'm like, I have never done that. It just all blurs. You know, it's like when you say a word over and over again, it loses all meaning.
Yeah.
Everything
Brian
just
was like, like he'd get 2 hours in. He's
Yeah.
like, I've never seen that step in my life.
Yes.
Like,
It's
baby.
muscle memory too. It just carries you. Because
Yeah.
without that, because your brain just turns off at
Yeah.
a certain point. And
Totally.
your feet just go.
Yeah.
So, but it was really fun to get a taste of that. And just watch you teach was cool. Being able to learn from you was amazing.
You were an awesome student and you were still a great leader.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
guys looked so beautiful doing it on your wedding night.
That was fun. We watched it recently.
Yeah, we did. It turned out really well.
It did.
I loved the song. It's so funny. I played the song in Japan just last
that's
week.
right.
I was showing Laura the song. Because a friend of ours just got engaged and she was asking like a bunch of wedding questions.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
What was your first song? And so I played the song. She was like, oh my God, I've never heard this. This is beautiful. I'm like, yeah, it's really good. You should see the dance.
Really beautiful. You guys did
Yeah.
an amazing job. Okay, so to wrap up the Dancing with the Stars stuff, for any other couples that are going to head on and do it, what is your biggest piece of advice individually for someone going in there and doing the show with having a significant other?
That's a really good question.
Great question.
And it's hard to narrow it down because there are so many different types of couples going into this. You know, there are married couples, new couples, couples that aren't in a great place, couples that are in a great place. And I mean, it really depends on where you are. But the thing I would say is I'm so glad that one of the things I look back on and I'm so happy I did not ruin the experience for you because an older version of myself would have, and I would have made it very difficult just by being upset. And I know you felt for me, and I know that it would have taken away from your experience. And I'm glad I kept my mouth shut enough that you still had a great time. I think open communication, and I think for the competitor to understand what their significant other's going through, because I think it was so hard for you to understand.
Yeah.
Looking back, I think it's just the fans can be mean and they can say things, and then it creates this reality in their heads that you're not a part of. So you just have to talk and keep things open. And you know, you were always really great. And I remember one time James was doing a dance or something and you came out into the audience and you just sat with me and you held my hand. And it was in the middle of the whole experience and it meant so much to me, just that little bit of something, you know? And then even afterwards, you know, you kind of got to this place where you would always text me and call me. And it was kind of funny that you started, I don't know if you sensed it, I don't know, but it was just, there was something where you showed that you wanted me to be a part of everything as well, which I really, really appreciated at the time. But I think it's just open communication is all you can really do, and just be open to how the other person's feeling. But have fun with it, because I know now going in, I would have had way more fun with it. And I'm a little disappointed that I didn't get that, but it can be so fun. And I did have fun. Don't get me wrong. I did have fun with it. But there was just other things I was dealing with.
Totally.
Yeah.
It's great advice.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think transparency is the best thing, right? Because we even, you know, we always say, like, I always said to you, like, come to any rehearsal.
Yeah.
Like, and you came to a few, but you didn't feel the need to come to all of them or anything like that. But just, you know, always know, like, just, it's communication.
I never wanted you guys
honestly.
to think that it was like,
No, but like,
no, and you never ever made it feel that way either.
But like, we're rehearsing. If you want to come check it out, cool. If you want to do
fun
this,
to watch.
you know, and then, honestly, like, this is going to sound like a little bit of a cop out, I feel, but I'm taking this almost a little bit just from what this conversation's revealed. Man, just don't go on social media.
Yeah.
Like, if just don't read anything.
Don't read
like,
anything.
You post, support, like repost, vote for my partner, whatever. But like, just don't even bother, because somebody is going to say something. And some people are, again, susceptible to taking that stuff on more than others. But like, just don't do it.
I know. I feel like my advice would just be to the fans, like, just be nice.
Be nice.
Well, that's never going to happen.
I
So,
Also, James, that's really lovely advice for people that can actually listen to that logical part of their brain. That's just don't look at it.
Just don't look at it.
When you drive by a car accident, do you look at it or do you not look at it? Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I guess
Curiosity
this sort of
kills the
program.
cat every time.
Yeah.
All right, I did not realize we've been talking for over an hour. This is just because I
I'm not
love you guys and I love hanging out with you. So I have these 3 questions that we ask all of our guests that I'm going to ask you. I did say before they're not rapid fire. They might slightly be a little bit more rapid fire this time. We'll see how it
buckle
goes.
up. Okay.
Buckle up. Okay. First one, Becky, let's go with you first.
Okay.
What is one thing you used to care deeply about and are now grateful that you no longer do?
Probably what we've been talking about.
Right.
Yeah. Just, I don't know how to say it in the right way, but just like what James is up to.
less bothered by what James is up to.
No, there's just, total and complete trust in both, on either side. And I'm glad I don't stay awake at night wondering, because he's created such a safe space, and I just, there's just freedom.
I think we're going to need a relationship advice episode from the two of you, because it's pretty impressive. James, what about you?
Something that I used to care about but I don't care about anymore.
You're grateful that you no longer care about.
I think it's the opinion of people whose opinion I don't care about.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's perfectly natural for people to have certain people whose opinions affect them. Right. I think you should try to live as largely by only care what you think about yourself to a certain extent, but certainly don't care what complete strangers think about you, because it's completely irrelevant.
Right.
You learn who's important in your life, who you respect, and that's who you want to be respected by. Keep that group as tight as possible, and just do not worry about anybody else.
Yeah. Sound advice from both of you. Becky, what is your messiest human moment that taught you the most?
Ooh, what a good one. Do you know my messiest human moment?
I feel like it was before me. You've been pretty buttoned up.
I've been
since we've
pretty
been together.
messy. There is one moment that lives in my head, and it was, I used to do a sports show. I don't know how I got involved in this. It was on Sportsnet. Is that right, in Canada?
Yeah.
And I basically talked about the gossip in sports. And I don't know why they gave me the show. I was totally out of my element. I didn't know much about sports, but it was really, really fun. And the producer of it got this big meeting together with the big wigs at Sportsnet, getting to a meeting, let's pitch this, let's get a show. And I didn't show up to the meeting. And it's unbelievable. I was 19 at the time. And I think about that moment all the time. But as bad as it was, and I think there were opportunities there, it was meant to happen, because I don't know where that would have taken me, and I wouldn't want to be taken anywhere else. But definitely taught me work ethic. That's like the biggest thing. But that moment of just not showing up, throwing something away, it feels messy to me. It feels irresponsible. It feels immature. And I look back and think, oh my God, like, is that who I was? But, it taught me a lot, and I'm definitely different for that and make way better decisions.
Yeah. Learn from it. That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's pretty messy.
It's messy.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's way worse, but on the spot.
I just don't remember them,
Yeah. Black them out.
Choose not to remember them.
What about you, James? Your messiest human moment. Do you get messy? I just can't picture this about you.
I think there's something that it almost in the same vein of how I was maybe a little disconnected from Becky's perspective and emotions during Dancing with the Stars. There was a phase of my life and early career where I think, again, that compartmentalization of me just always being in competitive mode as a driver, that I probably ignored certain thoughts and feelings of my immediate family, of my parents, my brother, my sister, and have subsequently learned some of the, feelings that existed in that time that I was just completely blind and oblivious to. And I feel
awful that those feelings were ever harvested by my family from my actions or lack of actions in certain cases. It was never the intention, and I hate to think that I caused that kind of pain or anything with any of my family. So that's something that's kind of lived with me, once, post, not even post driving, but just kind of when I learned about that. Mm-hmm. And that's an era where I wish I could do certainly some things differently in that respect.
Damn it, I wish we had another 30 minutes. I want to dig into what that is. I want to unpack that.
It's episode 2.
That is episode 2. Okay, last question. Becky, what is the one thing that you would tell your younger self now? Just a little advice that she needs.
Go to that Sportsnet meeting.
Right? Honestly, it kind of goes back to what James has already said, but I have to echo it, that it's stop caring about the unimportant people. Mm-hmm. There are important people and they do have good advice and you should listen. Everyone else is just noise. And that's something I think my younger self really needed to hear, for sure.
I agree.
And it's all going to be okay.
Me too. I think it's such a universal lesson. I think we have to go through it, right? You suddenly care so much about, especially as girls. That's a whole other podcast.
It is.
Especially as girls, we are taught to care because it's everyone else has an opinion on us and how we look and what we're supposed to do and how we're supposed to look. And so it's built into us.
Yes, definitely.
To value ourselves based off of other people's opinions. And breaking that pattern is one of the hardest but best things that we can do.
It's hard. And you have to work on it every day.
Every day.
Every day.
Every day. Again, I write back to the trolls and I delete it. You know what I mean?
It's 100%.
But I've grown.
Yeah. And it's something our moms never dealt with. Yes. Because social media has changed the face of everything. Yes. And we're bombarded. And when you have followers a certain amount and you're in the public eye a certain amount, you're just exposed completely to meanies.
I'm so grateful to be raising kids in this time of social media.
My gosh,
it's just
I
wonderful.
can't even imagine. That's why we have dogs.
Yeah, I know. Much safer option. Okay, James, for you, what is the one thing that you would tell your younger self now?
I mean, I would have said kind of something similar to you, so I'll pick a different piece of advice. I think it's when you're young. And this is not a new concept. Everybody knows that when you're young, you think you know everything, right? Mm-hmm. And there are a lot of assumptions that you make when you're young because you at least know one side of a story. I think what I've learned a lot, and I would love to tell younger me, is that I very rarely looked at the other side of a story to kind of understand a situation better. And I do that a lot now, and it is so advantageous to me. It helps me through a lot. And anytime I have a conversation with someone where they have a really firm point on anything, even if I agree with them, and this is something I learned from my brother actually, because he's one of the smartest people I know, I will pick the other side of the argument just to test them, right? Well, did you think about this? How about that? And there's always things that even when you do that, you don't know all the details of the other side of a story. I used to make so many assumptions about situations without really knowing, if the shoe was on the other foot kind of thing. So every time you think you have a really good handle on something, just know there's probably something you're not taking into account that could have a huge effect on why this situation has developed the way it has.
That is especially right now in this climate advice.
Very much so.
Everybody.
Very much so.
Across the board, we could all listen to and take that on.
Yeah.
Because right now we're in a space where opinions are facts, supposedly, and no one wants to listen. They just want to be heard.
And everything's binary.
Yes.
It's this or that. Mm-hmm. It's not that simple. It's a lot more nuanced.
Yes.
Life is a lot more nuanced.
It's supposed to be. There's a lot of gray area.
It's not just because one person says this, well, I don't agree with that person on this, so I'm going to disagree with everything they say. Like, it's not that simple. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's how black and white it seems to be right now that's really kind of troubling.
It is. What a positive note to end on, you guys. Good luck with that, everyone. I wish that we had an hour to do another part 2. There's so many more things that I would love to ask you guys and to get into, but Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having us.
This was
great
so
to finally
fun.
be here.
I know.
Yeah.
You're in studio.
Yeah.
It's so fun hanging with you.
Yeah,
And
we miss Brian.
I know. He just had to go and burst his appendix.
I
didn't
know.
he? What a dick.
It's kind of selfish.
I know. So
wasn't gonna say
selfish.
it,
How dare he lay in bed today?
Next time.
Just rude. Next time we will do this again. I love you both so much. Good
We
luck
love
with
you.
everything you have going on. And everybody, thank you for tuning into Oldish. This was the absolute best. We love you. Make sure you go ahead and you like and subscribe. It helps us so much more than you know. You can head on over to YouTube where you can watch our full episodes. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
I just wanted to take a moment to let you know that you don't have to navigate life alone. If there's something hard that you're dealing with or you're just ready for a change, then reach out to me at randyspelling.com, or you could DM me on Instagram, also at randyspelling. And if I can help you, I will. If there's a resource that I can share with you, I will also do that as well. Thanks.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/ARTS. Just go to Indeed.com/ARTS right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.